All right, welcome. This is webinar number 2 as a follow-up to our webinar a couple weeks ago around all of the different amazing things that NASEF offers in terms of curriculum for your classroom. So today's webinar will be focusing on implementing Scholastic Esports curricula in your classroom or program. And joined with me here today is...
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin Brown. I'm the Esports Program Specialist, a dual role between the Orange County, California Department of Education and NASEF.
And I'm Jorrel Batac, Curriculum Specialist and Esports Scholastic Instructional Coach for both the Orange County Department of Education as well as NASEF.
So talk a little bit about what NASEF is. Lots of you are coming in from the websites. You've heard things. You might have seen other demonstrations or presentations we've done. So our mission will always be our North Star. And this is very simply put right here, that we're doing something for all students. As a way to use esports. It's a way for them to see the applicability of what it is they're learning through something that they love. It helps them develop communication skills, collaboration skills, problem-solving skills, all things that they need in their work life as well as their scholastic life. The vision is just this. We want kids to grow up and become great game changers in whatever it is they choose to do. NASEF is not born of just one person's idea. It grew up as a collaboration. You can see that inner circle on the screen talks about all of the different entities here, birthed in Southern California, but now we are transnational. But still at the heart, it's University of California, Irvine, Connected Labs, a part of UCI, the Samuel Foundation, Orange County Department of Education, and others. All the major universities in Southern California that are chipping in to help guide us on our mission to keep this scholastic and still game related.
And a quick little overview about this webinar today. We'll be utilizing the Scholastic Fellows from our previous year to talk a little bit about the different ways that they've taken the curriculum and implemented it uniquely within their programs. And we'll break this down in terms of middle school, high school, as well as community-based organizations. And at the end, we'll plug an amazing resource, our curriculum library, which consists of all of the amazing lesson plans that the Scholastic Fellows have developed in the course of their program year. And just to reiterate, this is kind of our tagline with NASEF. Everything that we do here is ultimately meeting kids where they are, right? We know that they're playing games, talking about games, listening and watching all the amazing things about games. And so how can we celebrate the learning that's already happening and welcome that into our educational environments? And essentially that's meeting them where they are. And part of that is really bridging the gap between learning and intentional play. And that's how we've come up with this concept of Scholastic Esports, because it is providing opportunities to play, but purposefully, and really looking at all of the learning outcomes that we see as an educational community. And so before you get started, part of the things that we talk about are really, how do we build a culture of Scholastic Esports in your community? And this really consists of all of the educators, students, families, and admin that are part of your community, and it really takes, making those connections in order to be successful before you even start with, anything within the classroom, whether that be curriculum or clubs. And so for the purpose of this webinar, we'll be focusing specifically on curriculum. While there are many resources that NASEF offers around clubs and competition, again, primarily we're focusing on the curricular aspects of what we offer. And again, to talk about this, we'll be utilizing the inaugural Scholastic Fellows from our previous year, utilizing them as case studies to talk about the different and unique ways that they've implemented Scholastic Esports in their programs. And I'll hand it off to Kevin to kind of kick us off.
Sure, thanks. I'm getting feedback on my end, so I'm shutting down other programs in the background here. So speaking specifically about this, the principal at my 12-year-old at that point, now 13-year-old student, his high school said, or rather middle school, excuse me, asked me what it was I did, and I explained how we're creating a curriculum and opportunities through esports for high schoolers and said, have you ever thought about middle school? So a couple of weeks of discussion had me roughing out a program, which I was then allowed to try at my 12-year-old's middle school, created a class, and if we click to the next page, you'll see that we had, based on the ecosystem of what you're about to see in a couple of slides here, what NASEF posits as sort of where education comes from and how it intersects with esports. we created an 8-week program that had in the 9th week sort of showcase and gallery walk that showed parents and administrators what it was kids really did. On the screen in front of you are some of the things, again, not directly game related. This was the beautiful part. There are a lot of social emotional learning, teamwork, and decision-making parts that go in. These are parts of pages of a newcomer's guide I had these mixed 6th, 7th, and 8th graders create as part of the curriculum. So not only did they design that very interesting logo you see there and their tagline, "We are anything but ordinary," but they came up with their own governance, their own sort of code of conduct. I love number 10. When in doubt, this was their go-to rule: always act like a decent human being. If you weren't a decent human being as they defined it, well, there were consequences, things that would happen. But the fact that they came up with this in this mixed class, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, all boys and girls, all mixed, came up with a way to govern. It was amazing to watch. So what we have now is application through our fellow program.
And so playing off of the work that Kevin has done with the pilot, all of our Scholastic Fellows have taken those curriculum modules and implemented it, again, unique to their particular educational community. So Jody Mahoney here is a technology teacher at Carl Von Elementary in Chicago, Illinois. And what she did was take the middle school curriculum, focusing on all of the different esports ecosystem domains, but blending it with her own unique twists of brain-based learning as well as social-emotional learning. And so you can see here in the photo, the groups here took the esports ecosystem survey to identify where their interests fit within the career domains of the esports ecosystem, and then proceeded with purposeful play as well as research within those career ecosystems. You can see this amazing picture on the left. You have multiple games happening at once: Minecraft on those PCs, those Macs, Smash Brothers happening in the back left there, and then Mario Kart happening. And while they are playing, part of what they're doing is taking the different career domains and focusing on how they can integrate their interests into that environment. So things like, organizers would be responsible for organizing the different aspects of their play or tournament, where analysts may be focusing on more of the strategic elements within the game. Another great example of this is Shayla Baldwin over in Las Vegas, Nevada, over at Dr. William H. Bailey Middle School. What she did was actually take the middle school curriculum, but blend it with some of our high school ELA curriculum to have her students, write out different presentations as well as narratives around the different esports careers. So you can see at the top left here, this is a student working on her presentation talking about the particular esports career that she found a very passionate interest in. And then on the right, you can see that all of them are participating in purposeful play. So again, focusing on all of those different career domains and then figuring out how they can implement that and integrate it within their club. Now, you can see here that she did start off in the after school club aspect, but then recently got approved to create an elective course during school. Again, another great Scholastic Fellow, J.D. Williams, over in Levine Elementary in Arizona. He's now the District Ed Tech and Esports Director. A lot of his emphasis was really on the team building as well as streaming aspects of the career ecosystem. Now, one of the interesting things to note here is that all of the fellows were participating in the program during the pandemic. So during that shift, J.D. Williams saw an opportunity to connect his community through community game nights. And what he did was actually partner and collaborate with two other Scholastic Fellows, Angelique, Gianas, and Tyler Hahn, to figure out how they could bring their respective communities together during this lockdown to participate in what they called a free play Fortnite Friday. And what they did was partner to create a NASEF Twitch stream, and bringing all of their respective communities were able to bring up to 100 participants to have fun in a safe but also respectful environment. Going still along the lines of middle school, James Wood took the middle school esports curriculum and then reiterated on it to integrate more of the CTE aspects of the curriculum. So students would then go through the different career ecosystem domains, but go deeper into the research as well as the career technical aspects. So they would produce projects that were aligned with those career ecosystem domains. And then all of his curriculum really focuses on culminating into a showcase and event, partnering with other local schools through his leadership with NCEL, or the Northern California Esports League. The photos here show you one of the events that they hosted, having three or four of the different schools come together to participate in a local tournament. And again, all of his students were focusing on all the different domains of the career ecosystem as they were planning and organizing this event. And for the last one within our middle school sort of domain or space, Chris Aviles over in Fairhaven, New Jersey, he was one of the first to really start a competitive middle school esports team, the FH Knights. Now, at the time, and I believe this was 2 or 3 years ago, there weren't really any other middle schools or high schools within his area that were competing. And so he sought out to develop this and really garner the support of other middle schools within his space, and find opportunities for his students to compete. And again, his element or focus was really on the competitive side. And since he couldn't find any other middle schools or high schools, he actually had his students compete with a local college. And to his words, his team actually stomped on the college team, I believe in Rocket League. And now as he continues to do his work, he's expanding as the co-founder of a NASEF affiliate, Garden State Esports, to really support the organization of the competition side of things within all of his local schools, all throughout the Garden State of New Jersey. Passing it over back to Kevin to talk about the high school implementation.
So as soon as we got middle school done, well, actually kind of reflective, we built something for high school, went out to middle school, and saw that a full-on program could actually work. So if you'll flip to the next slide, please. What we developed was this English language arts program. The biggest intellectual jump was jumping the void about how can a solid course in any state link up with both career tech education with an output into esports. I was one of the first writers for the English class. I built the 12th grade module, having an extensive CTE experience in hotel hospitality. And I argued when I heard it was going to go through esports. I didn't see the linkage until I saw this very diagram. The idea that the player is in the middle, but while we think that that's what esports is all about, it is really these 4 domains and these different kinds of work, in this case, 15 kinds of work that can come out of esports that are essential for the whole artifice of esports to even exist and to operate. Pardon me. So we created all these classes. You can see how we've lined them up because the CTE course, the actual output into the world, whether it's game simulation or marketing or event planning, lined up smartly with what California was offering in terms of the different kinds of coursework at these different grade levels. I just got a notice today that this has been successfully implemented in Ohio. They took a look at our grade standards and the curricula and have found a way to map it articulately to their state standards. So it's being used throughout North America at this point, whether in part or in whole, as entire years of curriculum or as just modules to supplement what teachers are already doing very well. The next slide will show you really the whole enchilada that we're pressing for. And this is something that I designed because the question was, great, you've done something for English teachers. What about the rest of us? What about math and the solid sciences and foreign language and history? What have you got for them? So we have designed a series of grids that are aligned to at once the career tech education pathways in California. There are 15 that are very similar to many other states that have career tech education. They are lined up to the ecosystem you just saw on the preceding slide, and then also take into account state standards, what you need to accomplish in high school as a senior graduating from that high school. So what's required for college entry. This plan maps out from your starting day as a freshman to your graduating day as a senior, the classes you will take that can point you at a job in that ecosystem of esports. In this case, it's the fandom and media arts strand. So this senior or this student is taking video game design, actual game production, AP science courses, and a professional internship while she's also taking all the requirements what we call our A through G's, math, history, science, etc. There are blank spots in this for elective choices so that it's not entirely patterned. Kids have a say in what it is they're learning. On the far right-hand side of the screen, though, is the really interesting part that we have worked with the 9 community colleges and several of the four-year universities here locally to give us dual enrollment or articulation credit for the classes that we're offering, so that a graduating senior has a bank of anywhere from 3 to 15 college units already in store. So it's not a question of, should I go to college? Do I go to college? It's which college represents the major that I want to follow that's in the coolness of esports, and also I've got standing with them now and I can get a jump start on this. So now we'll look at how our Scholastic Fellows have applied this kind of concept.
Again, playing off the amazing work that Kevin and his team have done, the fellows have taken this, whether it be ELA or CTE, and then implemented it uniquely within their programs. Alexander Wurden over in Roseville, California at Oakmont High School took the ELA curriculum, but provided a unique twist and blended it with his after-school club, looking at how he could create a hybrid book club utilizing esports, as well as these 2 book titles that you'll see on the screen here. And interestingly enough, he had the students read, let's say, The Art of War, and then look at how the themes of strategy within that book connected to their gameplay within League of Legends. And then as he, worked through that, the other book, The Inner Game of Tennis, really focused on how he could integrate mindfulness within his club to really help his students see the value of, reducing the toxicity, really being mindful of your actions within the game, and how that can improve and optimize your performance within the game overall. Now, in regards to the ELA curriculum, just as how Kevin had alluded to with Ohio, Ryan Friedrich over in Spirit Lake Community School District in Spirit Lake, Iowa, has taken the ELA curriculum, but has embedded it in a unique way after school. What he's trying to do is have his students, participating in the club or elective course, all of those elements really integrate with the 4-year ELA curriculum. So aligning what they're doing within this elective course to apply to his ELA standards within his community. And so students would participate in sort of CTE type activities around building a computer or streaming, and then also connecting that to, building out narratives and analyzing sort of different video games within that space. And it all is in a PBL format. And students will also participate and compete in various tournaments, both through NASEF as well as other organizations. Another unique expression of how fellows have taken the ELA curriculum and CTE curriculum is April Dixon over at Shasta Charter Academy. And she has a very unique environment. Her school is actually 100% personalized learning. Students, can either engage in a hybrid format or completely remote, as well as completely in person, entirely up to them. And so to support that, what she's done is created a unique sort of personalized learning, self-paced, project-based hybrid format. And you can see here on the screen is a snippet of her curriculum, really engaging them in, again, different narratives, understanding how games are designed, and really writing out, their projects within that space. All of this culminates into a very open-ended project base. They can choose different various projects that align with their interests, obviously aligning with CTE as well. And again, all in a self-paced format. And this is very important, and especially as we approach our new year in a hybrid and virtual learning environment. Focusing more on the CTE aspects, Rene Barge took the CTE elements and integrated it into his games and simulation pathway within his program over at Miami Springs Senior High School in Miami Springs, Florida, known as the iTech Academy. And what he did was really take the CTE curriculum, but also look at his pre-existing CTE games and simulation pathway and figure out how he could integrate that and allow students to not just engage in CTE learning, but also earn industry certifications within these different programs. So some examples would be students could earn industry certifications in Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator, as well as Premiere, which are aligned with the meaningful content that they're creating with their Scholastic Esports tournaments. And just looking at the screen here, you'll see a couple photos. To the left are actually posters that they created to advertise some of the games that they designed within their CTE program. And then in the middle and to the right are actually badges and pins that they designed that they utilized to fundraise during their showcase and Scholastic Esports tournament. One more to talk about within the high school space is Angelique Gianas, who I think does a unique blend of both ELA as well as competition. And she's over at Helix Charter High School in La Mesa, California. And what she does during school is she actually teaches 9th and 10th grade English and utilizing the NASEF ELA curriculum, having her students analyze storylines within characters of video games. But then after school, she hosts an esports club that draws up to 100 students, and they compete in various tournaments, both locally as well as through NASEF. And the photo on the screen here is actually them, multiple schools competing at the Microsoft store locally in there at, in San Diego, where they all came together to not only showcase, but also compete in a unique way. And this was done in partnership with the San Diego County Office of Education. And again, another unique way to not only showcase what they're doing within the club and class, but also, to involve others within the community. And so switching over to out of school time and community-based organizations, pass it over to Kevin.
Thank you. So the last round of curricular asks last year really came from the YMCA. Their director here in Southern California, who oversees 85 plus sites in Los Angeles and Orange counties, was fascinated by the idea that esports had an educational bent to it, and it was an attracting thing for kids, could draw them in numbers. YMCAs, as you probably all know, do attract elementary and middle school age kids, but by the time they're ready to go to high school, kids are focused on the cool things happening on campus and tend to walk away from the Y. There's not just the draw that it used to be. So this director in particular saw a benefit, ways to reach out to high school kids and bring them back. So he asked NASEF and me in particular to come up with a way to start to energize this idea. So what we came up with was, again, dipping into those 4 domains that you saw in the ecosystem, coming up with 2 weeks each, by which we would outline particular content that the kids would do. We made it fun and engaging. There was physical activity, but we definitely honed in on aspects of the esports ecosystem. We created something every week. That newcomer guide was an example. I liked that from the middle school preparation, so I brought that back over, plus other things. And then why it was relevant, knowing that the teachers who were, actually not even teachers, who were running the program, site directors or could have been educators, but typically were college grad students working with the YMCA, having perhaps gone through the program as a youth and were giving back, but did not know things like state standards or scaffolding or pacing guides or things like that. So we had to write this in such a way that it was an easy lift for anybody. So these were literally 4 or 5 page documents that read like stereo instructions, with the important parts for educators and administrators color coded. So anybody could pick up the day's lesson planning and then read a key on the back that said, if it's green, it's got to be SEL. If it's red, it's got to be a California state standard. Teachers or leads didn't need to worry about that, but it was all baked in. So there was definitely education while we went through this. So used very successfully in Orange County, lifted into Chicago, and I've received calls as early as this morning saying that YMCA across North America wants to find a way to input this, because it does lift itself into this virtual space where we find ourselves now. So back over to Jorrel to talk about, again, application in the out-of-school space.
So again, using these resources as inspiration, as well as their own unique twists. Tyler Hahn is a great example of a unique way that you can implement Scholastic Esports in a non-traditional space. He actually works out of Cherokee Public Library and now director of the public library over in Cherokee, Iowa. What he did was really focus on different elements of STEM and game design for his patrons. And part of that was things like, deconstructing a PC and looking at the different components, as well as designing their own games or creating sort of jobs and careers around the esports ecosystem with a game like Roblox. And part of this was really his focus on future ready skills. How can he engage his patrons in understanding some real world skills that will help them be successful within the community? And one of the unique ways that he did this was, and you'll see on the left of your screen, is he had his patrons create resumes around their favorite characters in Smash Brothers, talking about the different strengths, talking about their experience and skills, and then ultimately connecting that back to their own unique skills as, you know, a human being within the community. And this was a great way to allow his patrons to engage in a real world, you know, practice of creating a resume, but in a unique way, utilizing Scholastic Esports. And he really emphasizes this as an opportunity for them, not just to be successful in school, but to actually get jobs within the community. And he's talked about how a lot of the work that they did here has actually made them successful in applying for jobs with local businesses. And part of his work is starting to expand within the local community as well as other schools and businesses to provide that third space so that students that who may not have access to consoles or PCs at home or even internet at home can utilize the library as that safe space to do so. And then one other person within the community-based organization environment is Akeem Morgan over at Kids in the Game. You know, I think what he's done is taken what they've already done within the program around sports and place a unique twist to integrate esports within that. So what he does is, for the sports aspects of things, you know, participants will actually engage in real-world physical skill building. So this could be like, you know, let's say, for example, they're practicing dribbling, passing, and shooting in the real world. They're also playing NBA 2K or Rocket League and practicing the skills within that game. And I think this is a unique way to allow for the cross interest between those that may be a little bit more sports heavy and those that may be a little bit more video game heavy. And he's actually seen cross interest happen. So maybe some of his, you know, participants that are more basketball heavy, they actually found a deeper interest in playing esports, whereas the more esports heavy are actually learning some of these physical skills, like I said, through dribbling, passing, and shooting. Again, another unique way to integrate Scholastic Esports that is non-traditional. And I do think that within the community-based organization environment, you have that opportunity to go beyond the traditional classroom and find these opportunities to engage young people in Scholastic Esports. And so all of this work that you see here, again, is just a sample of the unique ways that Scholastic Fellows have taken, you know, the ideas that NASEF has put together, as well as Kevin and his team have put together in the form of curriculum, and then reiterate it to make it work and remix it to make it work for their particular community. So just to name a few here, you'll see Brad Seward from Samueli Academy actually took a unique spin of blending his strength in social science and allowing his students to engage in things like, you know, writing out current events within the esports industry or looking at the history of video games. And then again, practicing skills within writing to look at how that connects to Scholastic Esports. And again, there is no one way to integrate Scholastic Esports within your community. It really is up to you, the unique interests of your students, as well as the particular resources that you have access to within your community. Now, all of this to help you as you go on this journey in Scholastic Esports, all of this is available on our website in the community library, and you'll see the link on your screen. What we've done is gather all of the curriculum modules that the Scholastic Fellows have developed over the course of the year and put it in a database that's sortable by grade, subject areas, standards, length of course, and state. One of the unique things that we've also included is video overviews by the Scholastic Fellows themselves, talking through their lesson plans, explaining some of the successes and challenges that they've seen, as well as just a basic kind of walkthrough about how you could integrate this into your program. And you can download all of their lesson plans in a PDF format, again, for free through our website using that link on the screen you'll see here. I'm passing it back over to Kevin.
Sounds kind of crude, but it really is my favorite F word. Everything that we have just revealed to you, everything that NASEF does is 100% free. Everything that we offer, that we make, it's an additive process. We realize that teachers and administrators like to do things the way they like to do things. They like to teach the way they teach because they understand their students best. So we offer these things up. We're here to help and help guide and shape if you like, if you want somebody to discuss how best to make things fit in your school or program. We also are completely comfortable putting it out there for you, as we've discussed, and say, do it yourselves. Let's see what you come up with. Getting Jorrel or myself or others with NASEF on the phone is also a free endeavor. We offer free game licenses. If your club that you activate happens to be of the mind that you want to compete with us on the tournament scene, the licenses for the games of the season are provided to you free of charge, as is the coaching through our partner Connected Camps, Connected Learning, all made possible through this very generous and ongoing grant from the Samueli Foundation. How do you get it all started? On almost every single page on the NASEF website, there's a blue button that says Activate. Click it. Takes about 10 minutes to fill out. Takes about a week and a half to go through all the paperwork on the back end, wrangling signatures and parental permission slips. But in very short order, you can start a club, and then all of these things and more are made available to you. All right there on our website. That's a great shot of all the different channels and pages. Please do take advantage of all of this. We're a little bit over time, only a minute or two, but Jorrel and I will hang for a couple of minutes and answer any questions you might have. Let me just check the chat. I don't see anything there.